Let's move on, though. Alex Stewart in the Sunday Mirror is saying that no wonder the Aussies are worried. KP may be short of game time, but he's back. So, Mark, Kevin Pietersen's back. All England's worries are over and Australia can start shaking in their boots.
Yes, KP is back. I've got to declare an interest here. I'm actually a KP fan, and I think he's been fantastic for England cricket. I'm very pleased that he's playing for England. You know, I'm sure other countries would like to have Pietersen in their team. I don't think we should forget that England have won the World 2020, which until now is their only World Trophy, largely because of KP. I think what he did in the West Indies when England won, he was by far the best batsman in the competition. I know there was 10 other people in the team, but I think KP what he did in that tournament went a long way towards England winning it. England wouldn't have won the Ashes in 2005 without KP, who was then in his very first series as a Test player. You know, he is a special case, and I know that there's been a lot of talk about you know, how Pietersen is treated and how we should treat him. But I think he is a special case. He is a world-class talent, and if he's back playing for England for the next 10 Ashes tests, then that's very good news for England.
He attracts comment wherever he goes, Kevin, doesn't he? He's done one interview this week. He says it's going to be his only interview. I don't think that's going to be quite the case. Do you?
Probably not, but I think it's pretty certain he won't be rushing out to do an interview with any newspaper journalist over the next 6 months. I don't think we're his favourite cup of tea, but he's well, as Mark says, what a player. This summer will rock his boat. He loves the Ashes. He loves all the, you know, everything that goes with it. I'm sure he'll have a fantastic summer. Obviously, the problems they had with Kevin last year, they probably haven't really gone away. But if they're winning matches, it'll all be forgotten.
Australia have got enough problems without worrying about Kevin, haven't they?
They have. I mean, my sources tell me that is not a very happy dressing room. It hasn't been since India, since the homework issue. And you could look at the obvious characters. Warner, for a start, has created such a stir. I mean, that is indicative of not just a late night out. There is something going on in that team that is disrupting it generally.
Cliques, factions?
I think so. That's what I understand. And that's not unusual, and it's not necessarily a destructive thing if you can control it and if you're winning matches. Then it doesn't matter at all. I mean, KP is a classic case in that regard. I mean, you've got to be that good to get away with poor behaviour and to be forgiven, to be indulged the way KP's been looked after. I mean, there were a lot of people who were so angry at the way he behaved. They thought, well, no, we'll never have him again. But then you turn around and you notice when he's not there. I mean, you definitely do. I mean, you've noticed it in the shorter form of the game particularly. And I think the Australians are suffering because in that void that was left by Ponting and Hussey, there was only Clark to fill it. Well, he's not fit. There's no guarantee when he's going to be coming back, and I think that is a pretty unsettled team. It will either galvanise them enormously, and they'll get really dogged and stubborn and you know, shock everyone on the back of their pace bowlers, probably more than their batting, or they will collapse in a heap. And I wouldn't want to put my money on which of those two will happen.
This question of cliques and factions insides and guys not getting on with each other is an interesting one, because when you're winning, it doesn't really matter. I mean, that great Australian side of recent past had various characters in there who barely spoke to each other, but because they won, nobody gave a monkey's about it.
Great Yorkshire side of the 60s, they hated each other, but they beat everyone else. Look, going back to KP, I think what he was on about last summer, he had a very good point, and I think subsequent events have proved that. I mean, I remember speaking...
You mean about him, basically about him playing too much cricket and needing to be handled...
I remember speaking with him at Guildford after he scored a fantastic double hundred. I mean, it was like watching a man playing in a boys' cricket match. It was that good against Lancashire. Sorry, Walt. But only a few of us there, actually, obviously being a county match, but we spoke with him afterwards, and he was very good. What he said, you know, it just made a lot of sense. And I think that, you know, people like Kevin Pietersen have to be managed. It's down to the management to manage them. It's down to the management to manage every single player in the team. Every single player in the team is different. And what Kevin was saying last summer was, look, you know, I'm one of the few players that gets picked in every single format. You know, he's played for England since 2004. And I need to be managed. I know my body. I need to be managed. I need to make sure that I'm available to play in the big matches for England. I think that's absolutely right.
I see where you're coming from. Is there not a point too? He needs to grow up. I mean, they all need to grow up.
He needs to do things in a different way.
There's a lot of entitlement in sport where people feel, you know, I'm a star player, doesn't matter what the sport is, someone needs to look after me. You see it right across the board. And I think, I'm not particularly saying that he feels he should be indulged, but I do think he might have been a bit more responsible about the way he reacted to it. I mean, there was a period of silence, like you're absolutely right. I don't think he'd be talking to any of us this summer because he feels put upon, which is fine if he produces the runs, which he invariably does. But I don't hold with the view that people should be just indulged. I think that's wrong. Regardless of how many rascals you've got in the team, or bad behaviour, I mean, you've got to be brought to account and stand up and recognise that you're wrong, because it's a team game. It's not, you know, cricket's a funny sport in many respects. It's a team game that's not a team game.
It's an individual.